Okay, let's see. Is Bostic here? I don't see Bostic.
I'm here.
Ah, there's Bostic.
Gee.
All right, so we'll start with Cobb. So when I call your name, gentlemen, I know you're probably handcuffed, but if you would kind of do your best to show me that it's you, nod your head or something so I'll know, so that we can make sure that you're there, please. All right, let's see. Huntsley Gray. Thank you, sir. All right, this position 5, Ms. Gray. Huntsley Gray, 22 CP 207720. What? The one I didn't write on there. Robbery by force and battery substantial harm. Right now, there is a $40,000 good bond as of July the 28th. And let's see. Sorry, for some reason, I didn't put how many days. It was 250, but let me see the number of days.
253 today, Your Honor.
253. Gotcha. 253 days without indictment. Free trial.
Judge, in regards to Huntley Gray, 41 prior arrests, at least 4 felony convictions, 3 misdemeanors, 5 arrests for probation violations, 5 for parole violations, 1 FTA back in the 90s. Felonies are drugs, and theft by taking. Nothing further.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Bray.
Oh, Lord. Hold on. Okay, Your Honor. Mr. Huntsley Gray is now 45 years old. He's had a birthday since he's been in. He was self-employed as a car detailer, has a stable address at 1123 Jones Avenue, Atlanta, Georgia, 30317. He has obtained his GED. He has 1 son, an adult son who's 25 or 26 years old. Just taking into account the amount of time that he's been in, Your Honor, I would ask that his bond be reduced in half at least.
All right, what says the state?
Your Honor, we've got 41 arrest cycles for this defendant since 1994. That's in the last 28 years. I have 2 theft by taking convictions, 2 burglary convictions, and 1 felony obstruction of a law enforcement officer. He has 1 failure to appear from 1995 and a slew of parole and probation violations. For the parole violations, there was 1 in 2004, 3 in 2005. And for violations of parole, we had, there was also a parole violation in 2002, Your Honor. Violations of probation were in 1998, 2002, 2004, 2007, 2014. There were 2 of that year, and 2021. With all that in mind, Your Honor, his risk of reoffending is too great for a bond reduction. And in addition, the defendant doesn't seem to be very good at complying with alternatives to custodial placement. For that reason, the state's position is that bond as previously set is fair and reasonable.
Okay, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no further contact with Matthew Spinks. And Ms. Porham, this is on the bond order from 7/28 also. You have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with 24 hours house arrest, except for court appearances, attorney visits, medical appointments, and emergencies. Stay away from 170 Martin Luther King Jr. Drive in Atlanta, Georgia. $18,000 on count 1, 10,000 on count 2. 18,000 count 1, 10,000 on count 2. Best of luck to you, sir. You can leave the booth.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Roy Floyd, Ms. Correa. Mr. Floyd, there you go. 16 pretrial 21 CP 202788. Roy Floyd. 454 days without indictment. There's a $15,000 split bond on aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and criminal damage to property in the 2nd degree. As of May the 4th. Trial.
13 prior arrests, 3 misdemeanor convictions, 1 arrest for probation violation. 2017 affray and public drunk. Felony conviction is a 2019 cocaine. That's right.
Ms. Correa?
Thank you, Your Honor. As you noted, Mr. Floyd has been in custody for over a year, and At this stage, his case has not been indicted. At his last, he did have a preliminary hearing this May on May 19th, and probable cause was found on May 4th, a little bit earlier than that. He did have a bond hearing where ADA Norwood said that he would follow up with case intake, but since here we are several months later, this case still remains lingering. At this stage, Mr. Floyd is now 39 years old. He will have a second birthday in the jail if this case continues to linger out until March. We are hoping for a bond reduction so that way we can find him with stable housing, since the duration of his incarceration has meant that he's lost the housing that he did have. He does have 3 children here in the Metro Atlanta area. He was successful in completing his GED, and at the time of his arrest was gainfully employed at a warehouse on Fulton Industrial Boulevard, specifically working in car manufacturing and car parts. Prior to this incarceration, he had been working with that same company for 3 years. At this stage, I do not know when this case is going to come up for indictment. I am asking Your Honor to consider reducing this to a $5,000 bond, so that way we can continue to try to find appropriate placement for Mr. Floyd, because at this stage, he's now lost about 1.5 years on charges which are, serious in nature. I do understand that, but this case does need to move forward. Thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Anjali?
Your Honor, the defendant has 13 arrest cycles in the last 11 years. For that reason, the state's position is that the defendant's bond as previously set is fair and reasonable, given the fact that he does present a high likelihood of reoffending.
Bossy, should he have had looks like somebody before ordered pretrial with wraparound services? Was that per the judge?
I believe that was with Judge Bordsky, Your Honor.
If he doesn't have MH issues, no, he should not have wraparound services.
He does have a diagnosis, Your Honor.
Okay, just making sure it was something that pretrial could actually do. All right.
On which charge is it on?
Criminal damage to property, 2nd degree.
Okay.
All right. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no further contact with Adrian Hare, H-A-R-E, or Jesse Davis. Stay away from 81 to 87 Colquitt Road. And have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew. Court, lawyer, medical, work, as long as you supply the name of your employer, a schedule, and the exact location you'll be working. You have to supply that to the ankle monitoring company, and you have to supply that to the state through your lawyer. $10,000 on count 1, and we'll leave count 2 at the UJR through pretrial with wraparound services. And you must give the address where you will be living upon bonding out. You have to give it to the jail and give it to your lawyer so she can file a change of address or a notification of address into the clerk's file.
We will do that, Your Honor.
Thank you. Best of luck to you, sir. You can leave the booth. Christopher Terrell. Thank you.
Also my case, Your Honor.
Thank you. Okay, we got 21CP204022. Christopher Terrell, 405 days without indictment, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. There's a $50,000 good bond as of June 30th. Pre-trial.
Judge, in regards to Mr. Terrell, 15 prior arrests, 3 of convictions for misdemeanors, simple battery and a battery, 2 arrests for probation violation, 2 FTAs 03 and 06, 2 felonies, both are ag assault, 1 in the 90s, 1 in 04. Nothing further.
All right. Go ahead, Ms. Correa.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Terrell is another case that has been lingering for over a year. Not quite to the level of Mr. Floyd, but he was arrested on October 25th of last year. He did have a preliminary hearing in June, or I believe in July. June 30th. And probable cause was found, but once again, 6 months later, this case does remain unindicted. Mr. Terrell will be residing with his mother. I believe I have already filed that change of address. His mother, Ms. Pennington, came to court when came in person to court when he had his preliminary hearing. She also did communicate with Judge Drake, as Judge Drake sometimes likes to ask follow-up questions regarding housing, and she was able to answer those questions. That address is over on McDaniel Street, and that is how his bond was. I think that at that stage, his bond was reduced to $50,000. His mother also indicated that she would continue to support him as Mr. Terrell receives SSI through disability due to some underlying MH conditions and intellectual disabilities. Mr. Terrell has 4 children. 2 of those children are here in Atlanta with his 5 grandchildren. He also suffers from some lingering back problems he got from a work injury. And so being in the jail has also exacerbated these medical issues that he has. He is also perfectly comfortable wearing an ankle monitor to indicate to the court that he does want to come back to court to fight these charges. And at least at the time of his preliminary hearing, he was residing at a facility, like in a specific dorm in the jail for people who are exhibiting good behavior, like an honor dorm type situation, Your Honor. I can also see that he hasn't had any incidences at the jail. At this time, I'm asking Your Honor to consider reducing this to a $10,000 bond. Thank you.
Ms. Amjadi.
Your Honor, given the nature of the charge, the defendant's actions do constitute a danger to the community. And for that reason, the state's position is that bond as previously set is fair and reasonable and commensurate with the offense.
Right. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. You have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew. You can leave for court, lawyer, medical, physically medical, or MH appointments. No further contact with Christopher Martin. Stay away from 840 McDonough Boulevard. Trying to see, I didn't see the address filed in Odyssey, but
I'll double check, Your Honor.
Ms. Amjadi, has there been any recent contact with the alleged victim?
I believe there was today, Your Honor. Ms. Ferreira, are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Oh, hi, Ms.
Not you,
Bray.
Ms. Bray.
Oh, I thought she said me. I'm
Yes,
sorry.
I'm here.
I apologize, Ms. Bray. I was talking to Ms. Ferreira.
I'm
I'm
sorry.
here.
Ferreira, were you able to speak with the victim in this case?
There was a victim just texting me trying to get in. What case are we on again?
This is position 22.
Christopher Terrell.
For Larry Jr. Little?
Christopher Terrell.
Oh, Christopher Terrell. This victim in particular, no, I was unable to leave a message, nor was I able to text. It was coming back as, like, I guess the number's disconnected. So this particular person, I did not.
Okay, this was a stab in the chest. I'm assuming, since it hasn't been changed to murder, that the victim is still with us. Am I right?
Well, Your Honor, from the preliminary hearing, there wasn't actually anything recovered. What was seen is from like a security video, and there is just a shiny object.
Okay.
So I don't think there was like really any indication of how deep this wound was or the
Okay.
nature of any subsequent medical attention that the complaining witness in this case needed. But I would assume that through those medical records is how he would be found.
Okay. And okay, we'll do that. This need his address if it's not updated, sir. If you move, you have to notify the court and the ankle monitoring company where you're moving to. A $40,000 good bond. Best of luck.
Also, I just wanted to say a victim locate was placed back in October 25th of 2021. I requested a victim locate and there was still nothing provided. So I'm looking at my notes now. I attempted to reach the victim, no number, and the number that was in Odyssey, it just, the text bounces back. It doesn't say delivered.
All right. Thank you, sir. You can leave the booth. All right, South Annex. Maya Campbell. That's you. Oh, okay. This is position 15, 21 CP 201330. Maya Campbell, 510 days without indictment, aggravated assault. There is a $7,500 good bond as of March the 9th. Free trial.
Let me put There it is. 16 arrests in Georgia, 16 arrests in California, 2 misdemeanor convictions, prior burglary and prior taking of a vehicle without consent. Nothing further.
Right, Ms. Sampson?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Campbell is 42 years old. She's been living in Atlanta for about 4 years this time, Your Honor. She did reside before she was arrested. She did reside with her grandmother in the 1710. I believe this is Misty. Let me check the see. But either way, Cove Road, Your Honor, in Atlanta, Georgia. She does have 1 child at this time, Your Honor, and some college under her belt. As you see, she has a $7,500 bond that she cannot afford at this time. So understanding that one of her family members who lives out of state, specifically California, wants to pay the bond, but because of the fact that they live out of state, they have to pay a higher percentage. So at this time, they would need to, they're asking for a bond to be lowered. Your Honor, I'm asking for a $5,000 bond.
Ms. Amjadi?
Your Honor, the state's position is that bond as previously said is fair and reasonable.
All right, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no further contact with Marvin Scott. Okay, this is the former bond. It says stay away from the intersection of Parson Street and Joseph Lowry Boulevard. And here it said, Ms. Amjadi and Ms. Sampson, that must enroll in mental health treatment, obtain mental health evaluation.
Yes, Your Honor. Judge Gorski put in a request for referral to accountability for, but because of the charge, she was not accepted. So that was the issue. So right now we're just trying to get her into a program. It's my understanding from my social worker recently that they may have found one that suits her needs. However, but we're still need the bond to be paid.
Okay, so what about the mental health eval? You still asking for that?
No, Your Honor. Not
Okay. All right, so we'll take that off.
Your Honor? The
Yes.
state would respectfully like the mental health evaluation to be kept as a condition.
Okay, so get a mental health evaluation. Obviously, the program Ms. Sampson gets you into, maybe she can get something to help with that too. Let's see.
The programs do an evaluation before in order to see if she qualifies for the program. So they automatically do that.
Okay. Income monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, any mental health treatment, and also you could leave for your evaluation. Is she going to have a job, Ms. Sampson?
I don't believe that programs usually allow jobs at the first 60 or 30 days. So
Okay.
at some point she'll need to get one.
I'll go ahead and put it in there. She can leave for employment as long as she supplies the name of her employer, the location, and proof of employment. And a schedule to the ankle monitoring company and to the state. And must supply an address if she's going to live at a different address. $5,000 good bond. Best of luck to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Honor. That concludes my business. May I be excused?
Yes, ma'am. Have a good weekend.
You too.
Katina Parks.
Hello,
Right.
Judge.
How you doing? This
Good,
is
how are you?
one on the add-on calendar. This was a subpoena compliance. This is 22 CP 211015 Katina Parks, 127 days out indictment. There is a $260,000 good bond as of November the 9th. On here, there's a note, subpoena compliance. What's going on with subpoena compliance?
Judge, the subpoena has been complied with. I also filed a motion for a bond reduction. So I am asking the court to hear that today as well. It's
Okay.
The state has notice, more than 10 days notice.
Okay, that's fine. I just want to make sure we covered the subpoena issue first.
Thank you, Judge.
Anything else? Pre-trial.
Judge, in regards to Ms. Campbell,
No.
Parks,
Yes, ma'am.
7 prior arrests, first offender plea in 2016 on an aggravated battery and aggravated assault, currently on probation for theft by shoplifting. Sentence in 2018 for 5 years. Nothing further.
Right. Go ahead, Ms. Lake.
Thank you, Judge. I think you're familiar with Ms. Parks, and I will just remind the court that Ms. Parks is pregnant. She is due in April. She is still having trouble getting the medical care that she needs, both for herself and for her unborn child. Your Honor will recall that she has asthma, which is complicated by the mold and mildew issue at the jail, and that she's not gaining weight because she's not getting the proper nutrition during her pregnancy. Nothing's changed, Judge. We still don't have an indictment, and Ms. Parks still can't afford a $260,000 bond. I would ask for the court's indulgence and to imagine, if you would, trying to come up with $26,000 to pay a bonding company. And now imagine that you're, not a judge for the county of Fulton in the state of Georgia, but a personal assistant helping somebody in their home. It's not reasonable for somebody in Ms. Parks' situation, Judge, and we would ask the court to reduce that to Your Honor, I'm asking for a $5,000 bond. Judge, the other thing that has changed is that since our last court date, it has come to my attention that the sister of Miss Johnson has released a music video on YouTube in which she claims affiliation with a subsection of the Bloods gang, in which she threatens to retaliate against Miss Parks by name. And I will be happy to forward that link to Miss Amjadi. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yes.
But Judge, we can't keep holding people indefinitely if the state isn't going to charge them. She's been in 128 days now. This case needs to be indicted. And if it's not, then she needs to be released, and she needs to be released anyway for the sake of her health and for the health of her unborn child.
All right. Miss Amjadi, I think when I did the prelim, Dad was there, I think, or somebody, and sister. And then I think before, Dad was in the meeting too. At the first. So is the dad going to be here?
I'm here, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Hold on a second. Go ahead, Miss Amjadi.
Your Honor, I imagine, knowing how thoroughly you prepare for calendars, that you've read the allegations in the warrant. There's no way that I can consent to lowering this bond by any amount. The defendant's actions constituted a great danger to the community and the victim herself.
Right. Mr. Rivera, if you don't mind taking yourself off mute, raising your right hand. Oh, where'd you go? Okay. You swear affirm testimony you're about to give is the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth. And sorry, there was also receipt, possession, or transport of a firearm by a convicted felon or first offender. That was also on there. I think that was added at prelim. All right, sir, you can put your hand out. What would you like to tell us? How is your daughter?
Well, I understand what the young lady was saying about Katina's health, but my daughter's health has declined. Like, she ain't getting the nutrition she needs. She can't move her right side.
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Rivera. I'm just going to object.
Tina is able to do.
Mr. Rivera, I'm sorry. Will you pause for just a second, please?
She don't get to see her kids. She don't get to hold them.
I'm sorry, I'm not getting everyone.
Mr. Rivera, hold on a second. There's an objection. Go ahead with your objection, Ms. Lake.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, Mr. Rivera. I understand how emotional this must be for you. Just on behalf of Ms. Parks, I must object to the extent that this doesn't go to the Ayala factors.
Okay. Is this what Ms. Parks have to deal with? Is this it? Ms. Parks did this. My daughter can't do anything. So I'm sorry. Forgive me for anger. Please forgive me, because I honestly got to find a way to
Your
forgive.
Honor, I'm asking for a ruling on my objection, please.
Okay. Sir, just let me ask you one question. Is she at home, or are you still at the hospital?
I was fortunate enough to bring her home.
Okay, so she's just recently got home. Anything, Ms.
She's been home 7 days. She's been home 7 days.
I'm glad you got to get her home at least to somewhere that's better than a cold hospital room. At least she's around people to love. Ms. Amjadi, anything else? Anything for Mr. Rivera?
Well, as Mr. Rivera has pointed out, the defendant's actions have constituted a great danger to the victim in particular in this case. And the nature of the allegations here would indicate that the defendant is a high-risk person to release into the community.
Your Honor, I would, I'm sorry, Ms. Amjadi,
I'm
Did I
done,
interrupt
thank you.
Okay. Your Honor, I would submit that if Ms. Amjadi is as certain as she says that she is about Ms. Parks, then for the sake of Mr. Rivera and the Rivera family, they need to bring formal charges. Otherwise, Ms. Parks can't sit in jail indefinitely if the state isn't going to try to prove a case against her. If they're not going to bring a case against her, they can't hold her in jail forever without bringing charges.
Your Honor, they don't even have the fact that she shot her in front of her children. They don't have that. They don't have that.
Thank you, Ms. Rivera. Ms. Amjadi, can you put something in there, see what they're going to do? ADA Royal, see where this is going to be put on for grand jury presentment?
Your Honor, I can't do this for every single case, but I will try to handle this one myself and get it indicted in the next week or two.
Okay. All right. We'll go ahead with anything
I
else.
apologize, Your Honor.
No.
Mr. Rivera, we will be in touch to get copies of medical records. I just wanted to notify him about that.
And a victim's advocate is on here. She may send you a message in the chat, Mr. Rivera, if she doesn't have current contact info. All right. Ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, except for court appearances, her medical appointments, emergency legal meetings with the attorney. Stay out of Fulton County, except for court appearances and legal meetings with the attorney. You're going to have that ankle monitor that's on you, paid for by the county. That's a 24-hour curfew. Of course, that also goes with meetings with their obstetrician for the unborn child. Ma'am, staying out of Fulton County means you can't get gas here. Don't have a flat tire. Don't let your car break down. You have to take 285. Don't run out of gas on 285. If it's in Fulton County, that'll be a violation of your bond. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no contact with Armani, Armani, Shockley, Shockley. If you're picked up on a hold because of a probation violation or anything of that nature, you'll have 48 hours once you're released from that to have that ankle monitor placed on your ankle. No further contact with Denisha, Danisha Johnson, and the family. Trying to make sure I didn't leave anything out. All right, I'm going to leave count 1 at 2,000. Count 2, 50,000. Count 3, I'll reduce that from 10 to 5. Not much, Ms. Lake, but $255,000. Obviously, you'll be put back on another calendar if they haven't indicted. I'm sure Ms. Amjadi is going to figure that out. Thank you, Mr. Rivera.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Rivera, I think the victim advocate needs your contact information. If you could just stay on and Ms. Ferreira can send you some information in the chat.
Okay.
Did you find the chat on your phone?
She can communicate with you through the chat. Ms.
Okay.
Ferreira, you can send him a chat directly so he can provide you the information you're requesting.
Okay, no, I do have his information actually. Well, it's his daughter. He was responding for his daughter, so we've been chatting on the county cell.
Okay, do we have our interpreter here yet?
Mr. Ferreira, you don't have to stay on. She has your contact information.
Thank you, sir. Let's see. Don't have her on yet. Let me see. I'll text her and see if she'll get on. It was supposed to be Ms. Chavez. No, Ms. Chavez is going to be here, or Ms. Claudia. Yeah, Ms. Chavez. It was supposed to be Claudia, so I just text Ms. Chavez to jump on. So, Ms. Correa, we'll get back to yours as soon as she jumps on.
I understand, Your Honor.
Thank you, South Annex. All right, how about Jonathan Jackson? Not yet. By the way, everybody who jumped on a little later, Lieutenant McDaniel, they're a little shorthanded on the floor, so it may go a little bit slower tonight. That's why you see so many empty booths. So let me see who's here. Wave your hand if I call your name. Gabriel Ely. All right, Ms. Bray.
I'm here.
21 CP 203243. 435 days without indictment. There is a $175,000 good bond on aggravated assault, aggravated battery, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, and criminal attempt to commit armed robbery was dismissed in May.
Yes.
As of 2/14, that's the bond. Trial.
4 prior arrests, 1 FTA in 2021. Open case 22 SC 182870, armed robbery, 2 counts, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, 2 counts. Firearm during assigned to Judge Lethbridge. Nothing further.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Bray.
Yes, Your Honor. When Mr. Gabriel Ely was arrested, he came in with 3 cases. One was dismissed by the prosecutor. It was a terroristic threat case. It was dismissed. The second case is the one Ms. Bostic just mentioned that's assigned to Judge Lethbridge. He has plea and arraignment tomorrow on it. Ms. Howell met with him today at the jail regarding that. And so this case is outstanding. It needs to be indicted if they're going forward on it. And I know they are because there's video. They have video of the incident, I believe. And I'm not sure why it hasn't been indicted because we did this prelim way back in May of this year, long enough where I now have a transcript and everything from it. During the 435 days, Mr. Ely has been in jail. He has had a birthday. He's now 23 years old, born and raised in Atlanta. All of his family is here in Atlanta. I've spoken with his mom, his dad. He is a high school graduate. He did attend some college. Prior work experience was in warehouse work, although he is interested in software and coding. He's not a convicted felon. He has a stable address at 11 Cedar Road, apartment F. The pretrial has, that is his stable address. That's where he was living with his mom. After the prelim, charge was dismissed, so it became $175,000 from $250,000 because that's what it was originally before the prelim. But at $175,000, that's still too much. I'm asking Your Honor to reduce the charge in half. I'm sorry, reduce the amount in half based on the fact that it's 435 days. The state is aware that there's already a case indicted in front of Judge Lethbridge. They're aware that this case needs to be indicted so it too can go to Judge Lethbridge. Until that's done, he can't do anything. So I am asking for a reduction in half on this $175,000 bond.
And Ms. Bray, I think there's no bond on that 22 SC case with Judge Lethbridge. Am I right?
Well, he has a bond on some charges, right?
So it's
Of course,
split.
you know, I got one. But when they indicted the case, they added charges. And those are the charges he doesn't have bond on. And his family had paid the bond. But again, because of those added charges.
All right. So, sir, you have some bond on some, but you have new charges that don't have bond. So no matter what, you wouldn't be released. You'd have to go back and see Judge Lethbridge. Go ahead, Ms.
He's going to do tomorrow. So hopefully Ms. Howell will address the fact that they added those new charges and, you know, address bond tomorrow. At least that's what I'm hoping she's going to be able to do before Judge Lethbridge tomorrow.
All right. Ms. Amjadi?
Your Honor, the defendant has 4 arrest cycles between April 1st of 2021 and September 21st of 2021. For that reason, I think it's quite clear that the defendant poses a serious risk of reoffending. Additionally, the court previously found that he presented a danger to the community based on the seriousness and gravity of the offenses with which he's charged, and that he poses a significant risk of intimidating witnesses. For that reason, the state's position is that bond as previously set is fair and reasonable.
All right. Have you any contact with the victim? Shot in the arm and the chest is what I have.
I apologize, Your Honor. I have to pull up the case again. I just read the notes, but I don't make notes. on the victim contact. Let's see. The victim has stated that she's very afraid of the defendant. She stated that the defendant came close to killing her. She has 2 children. She was afraid for her life. She's against the court reducing the bond.
Okay. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no further contact. I'll spell the name Akinmarin. Last name Olubukulami. It's on the bond order also from 214, I believe, Miss Forum. You have ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew except for court, lawyer, medical. Stay away from 8340 Roswell Road and stay away from all Texaco gas stations. $65, $65, and $15. $65, $65, and $15. Best of luck to you, sir. You leave the booth. If there's any kind of hold, that ankle monitor will have 48 hours to have it placed on his ankle after he's released. You can leave the booth, sir.
Judge, did I miss something? 65, 65, and 15. I thought it was 4 charges.
Wait a minute. Oh, sorry about that.
Because one of them was dismissed
one was
at
dismissed.
first appearance.
Okay. All right. I'll do more research then.
Yeah, the criminal attempt was dismissed on May the 25th.
Okay. So 65 on the ag assault, ag battery, and then 15 on the firearm.
Yes, ma'am.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay.
And actually, Your Honor, that is my last case because Calvin Sheely, I didn't realize he was indicted November 15th. So we can't address him. And so that was my last case.
All right. Thank you, Miss Bray. Have a good evening.
All right. And Your Honor, I apologize for my outburst on Tuesday. I was a little annoyed. I didn't eat that day. So, I'm sorry.
I understand, Miss Bray. It's okay.
Okay. Thank you.
How about Dwight Foster? Dwight Foster. Dwight Foster. No Dwight Foster yet. It's Mario Moreland. All right. Miss Pinto.
Yes, Judge.
22 CP 211607. 106 days without indictment. There's a $20,000 good bond as of August the 19th on aggravated assault. Trial.
What number, Mario?
Number
Moreland.
one. Number
Moreland.
one.
I was looking for the wrong. Okay, Judge, in regards to Mr. Moreland, 1 prior arrest in Nevada, 3 in California, 19 in Georgia. Felonies are fairly old. Back in the 90s, a burglary and theft by receiving stolen property, 6 misdemeanors, and a prior battery in Nevada conviction. Nothing further.
Okay, stand by 1 second. Mr. Greer, wave your hand. Miss Bray, yours was removed from the calendar. Miss Bray, you want to tell him?
Yes, sir. Your case was accused today. You signed that waiver of indictment when we were at the prelim hearing. And so Miss Amjadi with the DA's office found out about it when she was preparing for court today. She apologizes that, we signed it months ago and no one in her office did anything about it. They got to put a system in place so that they can catch this kind of stuff. But she did accuse your case today. Once I know what courtroom your case is going to be transferred into, right now it says NCJ 2, but these are complex charges, so it has to go to a trial courtroom. Once I have this information, I will notify you and let you know who your next attorney is and what courtroom your case has been assigned to.
Thank you, sir. You can leave the booth. Bye. Bye, sir. All right, go ahead, Miss Pinto.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Moreland is, he was arrested August 18th of this year. He's been incarcerated 106 days. His case is unindicted. He did get a $20,000 bond at his first appearance. However, he's been unable to pay that bond. And this is the first hearing he's had in that since that date. Of course, the court knows that Georgia law requires that the court consider the defendant's financial resources in setting the amount of bond. Mr. Moreland has been deemed eligible for bond, so we're simply asking for a reduction that is commensurate with his financial circumstances. He's 46 years old. He's a lifelong resident of Georgia. He graduated from Decatur High School. If released, he would live at Wendell Drive with his friend and ex, who's named Cynthia Dillard. He and Miss Dillard have 19 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren that they help support. 3 of the children live with Miss Dillard, so that puts a significant financial burden on her, as she is the one who would be paying Mr. Moreland's bond. If released, he plans to return to the 2 jobs he was working at the time of his arrest at Classic Security and at People Ready. And Miss Dillard has confirmed that those jobs are still available to him. Mr. Moreland is not a significant flight risk. He has very strong ties to this community. I didn't hear any failures to appear when pretrial spoke, nor did they mention any at his first appearance. He, in addition, is not a significant threat of committing any felonies pending trial. He hasn't had any felony convictions since the 90s, Judge. So we are asking for a reduction today. As a point of mitigation, the warrant does state that no injuries were seen on the alleged victim. And Mr. Moreland does deny any type of physical altercation between the 2. So, Judge, we do ask that you reduce his bond to $8,000 today. Something, as I said, commensurate with his financial circumstances. Thank you.
Ms. Amjadi?
Your Honor, I'm not sure if this one's mine or if it's Miss Iqbal's.
Good evening, Judge. Sorry, Shama Iqbal. Which case is this? I apologize.
This is position 1 on the add-on calendar, Mario Moreland.
I didn't know this was my case. This is aggravated assault. It has a family violence.
Family violence.
It had a domestic violence flag within our system, but I can handle.
Yeah, if you don't mind, just so I can while I pull it up.
Okay. Let's see. Your Honor, given the seriousness of the offense and the defendant's rather long record, the state's position is that bond as previously said is fair and reasonable.
Ms. Pinto, is that address in Fulton County?
It's an Atlanta address. I can.
Sorry, is that a Fulton County address? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Thumbs up. Okay, that's Fulton County. All right, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no further contact with Jacqueline Thomas. Stay away from 2900 Camp Creek Parkway, apartment F11 at College Park. Will he still need to return one time to pick up his belongings, Ms. Pinto?
I would imagine so. Mr. Moreland, do you still have belongings at that address?
Thumbs
No?
up. No. Okay, we'll put that. You have an ankle monitor paid for by the county. You can leave for court, lawyer, medical. And does he have employment? Sir, are you going to have a job when you get out? Okay. He can leave for court, lawyer, medical, and employment. You have to give the name, proof of employment, your employer, where you'll be working in a schedule. Sir, you'll have to give that to the ankle monitoring company and your lawyer so that can be turned over to the state. And if something changes with your address, you have to provide a new address where exactly you will be living. I think I added a couple things. So $18,000 good bond. Best of luck to you, sir. To leave the booth. All right, Ms. Chavez.
Judge, that concludes my business. May I be excused?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Chavez. Thank you, ma'am. Raise your right hand, Ms. Chavez. You swear affirm to translate from English to Spanish, Spanish to English to the best of your knowledge, skills, and abilities, and as best as you can understand me. You're on mute, Ms. Chavez.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. This is Saul Ortuno Lara, Lara.
Saul Ortona Lara.
Can you ask him to wave his hand? Oh, there he is, one north. All right, 22 CP 206885.
El número de caso es 22CP206885.
283 days without indictment.
Ha pasado 283 días sin una acusación formal.
There is a $42,000 good bond as of February the 23rd.
A usted le dieron una fianza de $42,000 en febrero del 2023.
Armed robbery,
Robo a mano armada,
hijacking a motor vehicle,
secuestrar un vehículo. Your Honor, what year was that the bond? The interpreter, I think the interpreter made a mistake.
Oh, it was February the 23rd of this year.
Oh, this year. El señor, la fianza se le dieron el 23 de febrero de este año. Secuestro de vehículo.
Did you get the aggravated assault with a deadly weapon?
Agresión agravada con un arma mortal.
And obstruction of a law enforcement officer.
Y obstrucción del trabajo de un oficial de la ley.
Trial.
Ahora van a hablar de su historial.
Only prior arrest, nothing further.
And the interpreter requests a repetition.
Only prior arrest, nothing further.
Solo tiene un arresto previo, nada más.
All right. Ms. Correa Jameson.
Thank you, Your Honor. As Your Honor probably already saw in your pre-court investigation, Mr. Ortuno Lara does have an immigration hold on this case.
Su señoría, como usted ya vio en el expediente previo a la audiencia, el señor Ortuno Lara ya tiene una orden de detención de inmigración.
And that is related to his application for political asylum.
Y eso tiene que ver con su solicitud que hizo para asilo político.
In regards to the case before you today, Mr. Ortuno Lara will turn 26 tomorrow.
Acerca del caso por la cual él se encuentra frente a usted, su señoría, él va a cumplir 26 años mañana.
The address on his booking sheet is his good address. That's where he resides with his brother, who does presently have lawful status here in the United States.
La dirección que se tiene en el expediente es la dirección correcta y él vive ahí con su hermano que tiene estatus legal en los Estados Unidos.
So, Ms. Correa, he put in a change of address for Beaver Ruin Road. Is that?
That
was put in.
They did relocate, Your Honor, just to be clear.
Señora Correa, él hizo un cambio de dirección de Beaver Ruin Road. Sí, ellos se cambiaron, correcto.
We have also been in contact with Mr. Ortuno Lara's girlfriend as well, who does also live at this Beaver Ruin address.
También hemos estado en contacto con la novia del señor Ortuno Lara, que también vive en esa dirección en Beaver Ruin.
Sorry, so is he going to live at Beaver Ruin or Buffington, which is on his bookend sheet?
Él va a vivir en Beaver Ruin o en Buffington, la que se encuentra en la hoja de registro.
The Beaver Ruin address, Your Honor, I misspoke when I said booking sheet. I meant to say Odyssey.
Oh, I got you. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, en Beaver Ruin, su señoría. Yo dije en la hoja de booking, lo que quería decir era Odyssey.
His girlfriend did come to court when he had his preliminary hearing in front of Judge Drake on August 10th earlier this year.
La novia sí vino a la audiencia cuando él tuvo su audiencia preliminar con el juez Drake el 10 de agosto.
Mr. Ortuno Lara, at the time of his arrest, was gainfully employed. His brother owns the contracting company Ashford Painting.
El señor Ortuno Lara, cuando fue detenido, tenía su trabajo, trabajaba con su hermano, que tiene una compañía que se llama Ashford Painting.
There is still an unknown co-defendant that, to my knowledge, as of today, has not been arrested for this offense.
También existe otro acusado del mismo caso que es desconocido, que hasta este momento no ha sido arrestado, que yo sepa.
At this time, he does have this $42,000 bond. He, however, is unable to afford that.
En este momento, sí, la fianza de él es de $42,000, pero no puede pagarla.
Given that he does have this ICE hold, our intent today is to not only ask for your honor to consider reducing the bond, but to also plead with Ms. Amjadi to get this indicted so that way this case can resolve prior to Mr. Arturo Lara resolving his case with immigration.
Ya que él no puede pagar la fianza y él ya tiene una orden de detención de inmigración, mi intención ahora es pedirle que le reduzca la fianza y que usted le pida a la persona Andrade de que le hagan una acusación del caso para que él pueda resolver su situación con inmigración.
As noted, this is his only arrest cycle here in the United States. To my knowledge, that applies to Mexico as well.
Que yo sepa, es el único ciclo de arresto que él ha tenido aquí en los Estados Unidos y que yo sepa también en México.
I'm asking your honor to consider reducing this to a $15,000 bond.
Yo le estoy pidiendo a su señoría que le reduzca la fianza a una fianza de $15,000.
And for ADA Amjadi to expeditiously indict this when she has the ability to do so.
Y para el fiscal Andrade que por favor, sin demora, haga una acusación formal de este caso.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Gracias, su señoría.
Ms. Amjadi.
Your Honor, I would like to be able to indict every single case that is pending, but unfortunately, it's just not possible. I am assigned to a courtroom. I have backup supervisory responsibilities. So I am limited, there's an opportunity cost to handling every function that I do.
Su señoría, yo quisiera poder hacer las acusaciones formales de cada caso que está pendiente, pero yo también tengo labor de supervisar a otros, así que esto me limita.
To be clear, I meant the district attorney's office as a whole, not attorney Amjadi specifically.
Estaba hablando específicamente de la oficina de la fiscalía, no de la fiscal Amjadi en sí.
I apologize for misunderstanding, Ms. Correa. I had volunteered to take on one of the other indictments earlier.
Quiero disculparme con la señora Correa porque yo también me puse de voluntaria para otro caso anteriormente.
Your Honor, with respect to this case,
acerca de este caso, su señoría,
bond as previously set is exceptionally low and generous given the nature of the charges.
La fianza previa es bastante baja y generosa en comparación a los cargos que se enfrentan.
Both the nature of the charges and the facts contained within the warrant.
Las dos, la naturaleza de los cargos y los hechos que se encuentran descritos en la orden de arresto.
Both of which suggest that the defendant poses a danger to the community.
Las dos sugieren de que este acusado es un peligro para la comunidad.
That said, I will do what I can to expedite indictment of this case.
Pero diciendo esto, voy a hacer todo lo posible para hacer la acusación formal de este caso sin demora.
Ms. Correa, you should email ADA Royal. He's the one I think that is over the indictment.
Señora Correa, lo que usted tiene que hacer es mandarle un email al fiscal Royal porque él es el que hace las acusaciones formales.
I will do that, Your Honor, and I'll take ADA Amjadi off the hot seat there.
Lo voy a hacer, su señoría, y voy a quitar la responsabilidad al fiscal Amjadi.
Thank you.
Gracias.
No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons.
No puede utilizar drogas, no puede tomar alcohol y medicamentos solo si están prescritos.
No further contact with Dajon, Dayjon Robinson.
Usted no puede tener ningún contacto con Dajon Robinson.
Stay away from 3090 Campbellton Road.
3090. Tiene que mantenerse alejado de 3090 Campbellton Road.
ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew.
Va a tener que usar un grillete en el tobillo pagado por el condado y va a tener una arresto domiciliario 24 horas al día.
Stay out of Fulton County unless you're here for court or to see your lawyer.
No puede venir al condado de Fulton solo si viene a una audiencia al tribunal o viene a ver a su abogado.
Absolutely no reason to come to Fulton County, sir, except court and your lawyer.
No tiene usted ninguna razón o excusa para venir al condado de Fulton, solo cuando usted venga a las audiencias o a ver a su abogado.
Ms. Amjadi, is there a name of an alleged co-defendant that you know of, or?
Señor fiscal Amjadi, ¿hay nombre de algún supuesto coacusado de este caso?
I did not see one, Your Honor, but if anybody is willing to give that information.
Okay, I got you.
Receptive to it.
No, no vi ninguno, su señoría, pero si hay alguien que lo tenga, estoy yo dispuesta a que me lo den.
Right. No further contact with an alleged co-defendant or any witnesses.
Usted no puede tener más contacto con el supuesto coacusado de este caso o algún testigo.
Right. 20,000, 10,000, 10,000, and I'm only modifying the obstruction down to 1,000.
Entonces estamos hablando de 20,000, 10,000, en 10,000 y voy a modificar el otro a 1,000.
And Your Honor, just for your order, I know that court can mean multiple things, but could there just be an inclusion for immigration court as well? The Atlanta immigration courts are both also down here in downtown Atlanta.
Sure. You can add, Ms. Parham, you can add immigration court to that.
Su señoría, solo quería preguntarle, cuando usted dice tribunales, o sea, es muy general, ¿se puede incluir el Tribunal de Inmigración también? Porque los tribunales de inmigración están aquí en el centro de Atlanta. Sí, por favor, añádalo a los lugares.
He'll have 48 hours to have that ankle monitor placed on his ankle if he's released from his immigration hold.
Usted tiene 48 horas para que le pongan ese grillete en el tobillo si es que usted sale de la detención que tiene de inmigración.
Thank you, sir. You can leave the booth.
Eso es todo, señor. Puede salir de ya.
Thank you, Your Honor. That is all I had for the court today. If I may be excused, and I will stop grilling ADA Amjadi here.
Absolutely.
All right. Have a good one, Your Honor.
You too. Have a good weekend. Ms. Chavez, you didn't yell at pretrial like the way I call pretrial.
Sorry.
I wanted to hear it in Spanish, but that's okay. Thank you, Ms. Chavez. Have a good evening. Thank you for filling in.
Thank you. Anytime, Your Honor. Have a good day.
Okay. Jonathan Jackson in a booth. Wave your hand if Jonathan Jackson. Dwight Foster. All right, Ms. Rosenhoover. Position 19, 21 CP 204772. Dwight McQueen Foster. Looks like 401 days without indictment. There is no bond on robbery. Unless I've missed it somewhere. Pre-trial.
Judge, one prior arrest in Georgia in the open case for reckless conduct, 21 CR 0069006G. Nothing further.
Ms. Rosenhoover, go ahead.
Yes, Your Honor. I will clarify, I do believe he has a $25,000 bond on his robbery case, but he is not able to make that. So we do still move for a bond reduction at this time. Mr. Foster is 29 years old, and while he's originally from Tennessee, he does have family here in the state. He has an uncle, Mr. Patrick Dean, and he lives in Savannah. He could stay there. I have an updated address for the court. However, he could also stay with his mother in Knoxville, Tennessee, if the court would rather that. I did speak with his mother today. She told me about a little bit about his history and about how he did make it to the 12th grade. He's a hard worker, and while he was working, he was sending money back to his niece and nephew, and his mother has full custody of those children. They're 8 and 9 years old. She does need help and she is not able to afford the $25,000 bond at this time. But she is very concerned about him. As the court's aware, he has been in custody well over a year and has not been able to make his bond. So at this time, Judge, we would ask for a reduction to $10,000, understanding just the amount of time he's been in custody without indictment, his ties both to Georgia, if the court would like for him to live here in Georgia, and also to his family. And if he were to stay in Georgia, he would still work and would still work to support them as best that he could. Thank you, Judge.
All right. I did that bond on March the 15th. It is 25,000. Thank you, Ms. Rosenhoover. I didn't see it. Go ahead, Ms. Amjadi.
Your Honor, the state's position is that bond as previously set is fair and reasonable and commensurate with the seriousness of this offense and the danger that the defendant's actions present towards the community.
Has there been any contact with the alleged victim, Christoph Liss? I don't know if
I'm sorry, Your Honor. Odyssey keeps crashing on me when I try to check notes. Ms. Ferreira, would you be able to answer that question?
The staff attorney here said it was crashing on her too.
It's the same with me. I've been using IT Odyssey to go in through his Odyssey, Mr. Stokes. So I can't even access it unless he has me using his.
Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Okay, you finished, Ms. Amjadi?
Yes, Your Honor. Unfortunately, I can't tell you whether there was because I can't access our notes in the system.
Okay, we should get Ms. Mabry Collins on that.
What was the case name again?
Dwight Foster.
Dwight Foster.
Ms. Mabry Collins, were you volunteering to fix it?
Well, it's not a fix it like that,
I got it.
We been having issues with Odyssey. Only thing I can pretty much ask her to do is to reboot it or to get out of it and get back in, because a lot of times we just stand steady on our laptops as well as our PCs, and we think everything's supposed to stay the same. The question would be when the last time you rebooted, not that you just pulled down the screen, because that doesn't reboot it. That just shut it down for the second. So she might want to do that, because right now in my notes, that's what I was looking at, is no complaints of Odyssey being down. So right now it should be moving smooth for y'all because we're after hours. But y'all saying that it's something going on, I will look even deeper. Okay.
I'll let the staff attorney here with me know too, Ms. Mabry Collins. Okay, let's see.
Unfortunately, I didn't write anything on the calendar, but I like I said, I've been going through IT to get to Odyssey. I can't even access it, period.
Okay.
Someone else.
All right, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Stay away from all MARTA property. Sir, you're probably already suspended from there anyway. Stay away from 216 Peachtree Street. No further contact with Christoph, Christoph, Liss, Liss. You can have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew. Court, lawyer, medical, and employment. You have to supply the name of your employer, proof of employment with that employer, a schedule, and the exact location that you will be, sir. You have to supply it to the ankle monitoring company and to Ms. Rosenhoover so that she can let the state know. Wouldn't want you to get out there and get picked up for not letting them know what your schedule is. You also go stay out of Fulton County. You can only come here for court and to see your lawyer. You should be able to come straight up 75 and leave straight down 75 if you have to come there. Don't stop for gas. Don't stop for anything except court and to see your lawyer. Supply the address, Ms. Rosenhoover in Fulton, in Savannah, where he'll be living.
Yes, Your Honor.
With the address for him.
Do you want me to read it or put it in the chat, Judge?
You probably want to file it with the clerk's office so they'll have it too.
I will do that.
Okay. And $20,000 good bond. Best of luck to you, sir. You can leave the booth.
All right. Thank you, Judge. And that concludes my business, if I may be excused.
Absolutely. Thank you. Have a good weekend.
You as well.
All right, let's see. What about DeMarcus Tripp? All right, Ms. Collins, 22 CP 211156, 122 days without indictment. No bond as of August the 3rd, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and possession of a firearm during the commission of or attempt to commit certain felonies. Preach, Rob.
Judge, in regards to Tripp, 6 prior arrests total, 5 in Georgia, 1 in Pennsylvania. Open case 21 CP 200-725, marijuana with intent, drug-related objects, driving with a license suspended. Open case in Doherty, or however you say it, for aggravated assault, reckless conduct, carrying a weapon in school safety zone, and firearm during. Nothing further.
All right. Ms. Collins, go ahead.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Tripp has been incarcerated for 122 days. This is his first court appearance. He has been in a no bond status this entire time. His case remains unindicted, so he is entitled to a bond by law. Some background information on Mr. Tripp. He is 22 years old, Your Honor. He does have a good address. He's lived here in Georgia his entire life. If released, he'll be living with his mother. That address is 925 Canterbury Road, Northeast, apartment 1209 in Atlanta, Georgia, 30324. Our office has been in contact with his mother. She is watching the hearing today via Zoom. He does have a good support system and a good address, Your Honor. He is a high school graduate, and he also completed 2 years of college, and he does have aspirations to return and complete that degree. He does not have any children, but he does have family here in Georgia. He was working before his arrest. He was working in the construction and warehouse industry. So he does have ties to the community, Your Honor. We don't think that he is a flight risk. I did not hear pretrial note that he had a significant history of failure to appear. Also, Your Honor, I don't think that he is a risk to commit any additional felonies. I understand that there are open cases. He does have the presumption of innocence on those cases. I did not hear, and it is my belief that he does not have any felony convictions, Your Honor. We are asking if you would consider a reasonable bond given the amount of time that he has been incarcerated without indictment on this case. It's my understanding that there were no injuries that resulted from this incident. Your Honor, we're asking if you would consider a $15,000 bond, $10,000 on the aggravated assault, and $5,000 on the possession of a firearm.
Ms. Amjadi.
Your Honor, the defendant has 7 arrest cycles since 2017. And given that the defendant's actions constitute and his release would constitute a significant danger to the victim, the state's position is that bond as previously said is fair and reasonable.
It's in no bond status.
Oh, well, I do think that's fair and reasonable given the danger to the victim, Your Honor. However, the state's position is that if the court is inclined to grant a bond to which the defendant is legally entitled at this point, that said bond be no lower than $40,000 for the charge of aggravated assault and no lower than $20,000 for the charge of possession of a firearm during the commission of certain felonies.
No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Stay away from 250 Piedmont Road in Atlanta. No further contact with Samario, Samario, Collier, Collier. Going to have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, except for court, lawyer, medical. Are you going to work, Ms. Collins?
Yes, he does have a job, Your Honor.
Okay. And employment, you have to provide the name of your employer, proof you're working, the location you're working, and a schedule. You have to give that to the ankle monitoring company, sir, and also give it to your attorney, so Ms. Cole, so it can be turned over to the state. Before I had a different address or didn't have an address, so he's going to live in Atlanta.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, let's see. Right, 10 on count 1, add 10 on count 2. $20,000 good bond. Best of luck to you, sir. You lead the booth. Jonathan Jackson, you here? Jonathan Jackson, there you go. All right, Ms. Fiacco. 21 CP 202-776. Jonathan Jackson, 455 days without indictment. There's a $15,000 good bond as of May 19th on aggravated assault. Pre-trial.
Judge Jackson, 27 prior arrests, conviction, 06 terror, 2010 criminal attempted robbery. Open case 03 SC 109484 for cocaine misdemeanor obstruction. Assigned to Dunaway. It's in judicial hold. Nothing further.
All right. Ms. Fiacco.
Thank you, Your Honor. On behalf of Mr. Jackson, it is true he's been in the Fulton County Jail continuously for 445 days without indictment. I think it's easy to talk about days and we lose sight of how long that actually is. It's 14 months and 27 days. It's a very long time. He has a $15,000 good bond that he cannot afford. Probable cause hearing was held on June 16th, 2022, 6 months ago, and the case is still unindicted. I have spoken with the complaining witness in this case, Mr. Larry Frazier. He's not afraid of Mr. Jackson. They have absolutely no issue. This is an incident between two strangers on MARTA. Mr. Frazier doesn't believe they'll ever cross paths again in the future. He's not afraid of him. He doesn't want to press the charges. He was angry initially, but time heals all wounds, and 14 months have made him no longer interested in pressing charges. Mr. Jackson is 45 years old. He's a lifelong resident of Atlanta. He's earned his GED. He's hoping to get a job upon his release. He is interested in cleaning office spaces after hours, something like that. Your Honor, I'm asking for a $5,000 good bond. I understand that that is low for these types of charges, but no one was hurt. State's not moving forward with the case. The complaining witness is fine with it. We're asking for $5,000.
See, did I miss it? Is he going to live in Fulton County? We had a Cortland.
Yeah, so he'll have to find housing.
Okay. Ms. Amjadi.
Your Honor, given the defendant's criminal history, he's got 27 arrest cycles since 1995, and the nature of the allegations here, which was pulling a gun on a stranger. I suppose it's a matter of perspective whether that's a mitigating or aggravating factor. The state's position is that bond, as previously said, is fair and reasonable and commensurate with the nature of the allegations presented here.
No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no further contact with Larry Frazier. Stay away from all MARTA property, sir. Trains, bus stops, anywhere that's MARTA, stay away from it. Their headquarters, everything. Stay away from 30 Alabama Street Southwest. Need to provide an address upon getting bonded out with the jail and with your attorney, so it could be something could be filed and notify the state where you're going to be living. If you do not provide that, that's a violation of your bond, sir. You're gonna have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with 24-hour curfew for court, lawyer, medical, anything else, Miss Fiacco?
Employment. If he finds employment, I'd like him to be able to work.
Okay, employment, sir. You'd have to notify us where you work, who you work with, and submit proof of where you work, a schedule, and the exact location that you will be working. $10,000 good bond. Best of luck to you, sir. You can leave the booth. See, do we have Bobby Usher? Is that it for you, Miss Fiacco? No, you got another. Bobby Usher. Oh, let's see. Kima Gooden. No, let's see. Eugene McWhite. Terrence Taylor. There we go. Like I said before, they're a little short-handed over there at the jail, so they get some in there as soon as they can. 22 CP 211784, Terrence Taylor, 108 days without indictment. Theft by receiving stolen property. There is no bond as of 8/26. Pre-trial.
Sorry. It wouldn't.
Judge, in regards to Mr. Taylor, 3 prior arrests, but a couple open cases. 4 open cases. Sorry about that. Guess he was double booked. 21 CP 203-725, theft by receiving stolen property. 21 CP 203-726, theft by receiving stolen property, firearm doing and fleeing in and looting. 21 CP 205-174, theft by receiving stolen property. 22 CP 211-541, 10 counts of street gang activity. And he's currently on probation, sentenced January the 14th of this year, robbery, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, 6 counts. For 90 days confinement, 5 years probation, 18 SC 161111. Nothing further.
Ms. Collins?
Your Honor, sorry, my computer kind of messed up. Your Honor, as of today, Mr. Taylor, he has been incarcerated for, I believe, over 90 days. And so I believe he is entitled to a bond, Your Honor. He is 20 years old. He's born and raised here in Georgia. He has plans to get his GED. He has 1 child. He has a 5-year-old daughter that lives with him, but while he's incarcerated, his mother is currently caring for his daughter. Before getting arrested, he did have employment. He was working at the Colgate factory on the assembly line. Your Honor, we are asking if you would consider setting a reasonable bond on this case. As pretrial stated, he does have a couple of open matters. Some of those cases are indicted and in no bond status. He also has a probation hold. I say this to say, Your Honor, that he is probably not going to be released if he gets a bond today. There's also another CP case I see that's on there, but it isn't scheduled today. I'm not sure why, but we'll look into getting that case scheduled today. Scheduled for a hearing as well. But Your Honor, he is entitled to a bond. We would ask if you would consider setting a $5,000 bond on this charge. This is a theft by receiving. It's a non-violent offense, Your Honor. He also has, as I stated before, he has multiple other matters holding him in.
All right, Ms. Amjadi.
Your Honor, the defendant has 5 arrest cycles in the last 14 months, including a robbery conviction from January of 2022, which I believe was out of Fulton. I'm not 100% sure about that, though. Something noteworthy about these 5 arrest cycles, 3 out of the 5 involved firearms, 2 were violations of probation. It appears that the firearm, which was the stolen property in this case, was a semi-automatic rifle, which was stolen from a vehicle. It was located by the Atlanta gang unit when they were executing a search warrant on a house. It was the defendant's house, Your Honor. Given all of this, Your Honor, the totality of the circumstances suggests not only that the defendant poses a risk of reoffending if released on a lower bond, but also that his actions constitute a danger to the community, and he is likely to present a danger to persons and property within the community. Understanding that he is legally entitled to a bond at this time, the state respectfully requests that any bond that the court grants be no lower than $50,000.
We have an address where he's going to live, Ms. Collins.
Yes, he's going to be residing at the address on file, Your Honor. That's his mom's home. They've been at that address for 2 years.
On Fulton Street?
Yes, I believe so.
Right, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. And I think the 22 CP 211540, that's in no bond status, right, Ms. Collins?
It should be the case with the gang charges, I believe. It is in no bond status.
Okay.
But yeah, it's over 90 days.
Yeah, if you file a motion or Ms. Cole files a motion, we can get
There
that
is
one.
a motion. The motion is filed already.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it's indicted, it's pending indictment. If you go to the screen, it says it's pending grand jury indictment. That's why it wasn't put on.
I understand, but it hasn't been indicted yet, so he should be still entitled to a bond.
Well, we'll get it. put on, and if they do the indictment, it'll be done by then. Stay away from 50 Ivan Allen Drive. No further contact with Brandon Hercules. And no further contact with your co-defendant, Terrence McKibbins, McKibbens. You have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, and medical. Employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment is scheduled, and your exact location, sir. $40,000 good bond. Best of luck to you, sir. You can leave the booth. Bobby Usher. Ms. Collins, position 4, 21 CP 202-821. 501 days without indictment. Aggravated assault, there's a $15,000 good bond. Pre-trial.
Judge, in regards to Bobby Usher, 33 prior arrests, at least 12 convictions for misdemeanors, 6 arrests for probation violations, 2 felonies. The violence is a 4 battery, simple assault, simple battery, and batteries in the 90s, 2012 battery, 2012 battery, and then an 08 act assault, and then 2018 terroristic threats. Nothing further.
Ms. Collins.
Your Honor, Mr. Usher has been incarcerated as of today for 452 days. This case came in September of last year. We had a prelim on May 23rd, 2022. That was 5 months ago. Probable cause was found. Yet we're here today with the case unindicted still. Just some background information on Mr. Usher. He is now 56. He has had 2 birthdays since he's been incarcerated. He completed the 10th grade at East Atlanta High School, but he went back and obtained his GED. He does not have any children, but he has family here in Georgia, specifically his sister Melinda, who he'll be living with at 3951 Wabash Lane in Ellenwood, Georgia, 30049. I'll be updating that address in Odyssey, Your Honor. He's lived in Georgia his entire life. Your Honor, we are asking for a reduction on this case, a reduction on this bond, my apologies. And the reasoning being the amount of time that he has been incarcerated without indictment, and the fact that he does not have the financial resources to put forth any bond. He's been incarcerated for over a year, has not been able to obtain any income in the time that he has been incarcerated. He does not have the financial resources to pay anything towards any bond, and any job that he had is long gone now, Your Honor. We do not think that he is a flight risk. He's lived in Georgia his entire life. He has a good address. He has ties to the community. It's my understanding that he was arrested on scene. He did not try to flee the location. So I don't think that he is a flight risk. I don't think that he is a risk to commit any additional felonies. He only has 2 felonies in his 56 years of living, one of them within the past 10 years, which was his last arrest back in 2017, Your Honor. He does meet the criteria for my copy of the pretrial report for pretrial release, but I understand that this charge is not eligible for pretrial release. I don't think that he is a danger to the victim. You'll hear in the nearly 2 years that I don't think that you'll hear that in the nearly 2 years he's been incarcerated, he's tried to contact this victim. I have been trying to contact this victim, but the officer did not put a complete phone number in the police report. So I have not been able to reach him. Mr. Usher does not have any way of reaching him, and I doubt that he'll try to reach him. I don't think that he is a danger to this victim, Your Honor. We are reaching unconscionable levels of incarceration without indictment. Probable cause has been found. It's my understanding that this case is not indicted because it's simply just not ready for indictment. He's charged with an aggravated assault. We went through the prelim. The officer did not recover a knife on Mr. Usher. The officer did not find a knife at the location. Mr. Usher did not leave the location. He was there the entire time. There was no knife found. And here we are still without indictment on this case. Your Honor, I am going to ask for a very low bond, and I do not mean to offend the court, but Mr. Usher, it's going on 2 years with this case. I'm going to ask for a very nominal bond of $1. And that would be the request of the defense today, Your Honor.
Ms. Amjadi.
Your Honor, while Mr. Usher has been in custody for a very long time, Your Honor, the state does take issue with the figure of 2 years because it is going on 15 months at this point, which is a little bit over a year and a quarter. It's still substantially far from 2 years. Additionally, Your Honor, given the nature of the charges and the fact that it does appear to be stranger on stranger crime that escalated from a verbal confrontation, the state's position is that bond, as previously set, is fair and reasonable in this case. The defendant is entitled to a bond after 90 days if the case has not been indicted. That does not mean that it's a convenient figure, but he is entitled to a bond, and he does have a bond, one that is reasonable. Thank you, Your Honor.
No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no further contact with James Sykes, Sykes. Stay away from all Kroger grocery stores. Stay away from 2665 Metropolitan Parkway. You have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, a schedule, proof of employment, a schedule, and exactly where the location you'll be working. You need to submit that to the ankle monitoring company and to your attorney so they can be submitted to the state. You're going to live in Ellenwood, Georgia, so you're going to stay out of Fulton County. Don't come back to Fulton County, sir, except for court and to see your lawyer. So don't get a job in Fulton County. You can find jobs elsewhere. So like I say, don't even stop for gas. Don't get around a flat tire. Don't stop to get anything to eat in Fulton County anywhere. I'll reduce this to an $8,000 good bond. Best of luck to you, sir. And if there's any type of holds that pull up, you'd have 48 hours to have your ankle monitor placed on once you get released from that hold. Thank you, sir. You can leave the booth. Kima Gooden. Eugene McWhite. Ms. Fiacco. 21 CP 205444. 339 days without in custody without indictment. There is a $46,000 good bond as of July the 11th, 2022. Aggravated assault, family violence, robbery by force, simple battery, and possession of a knife or a firearm during the commission of a felony. Pre-trial.
Judge, in regards to Eugene McWhite, 9 prior arrests, took a first offender on the terrorist offense, 2 counts, and scheduled 1 or 2 convictions. 2018 aggravated assault, aggravated battery, 2 counts. Firearm during, firearm by. Sentence in 2018, 5 years confinement, 5 years probation. 2 arrests for probation violation. Nothing further.
Ms. Fiacco.
Thank you, Your Honor. Natalie Fiacco on behalf of Mr. McWhite. Mr. McWhite has been in jail now for 339 days without indictment. He is being held on a $46,000 good bond. It's $15,000 on the aggravated assault, $10,000 on the robbery by force, and then simple battery, $1,000 good bond was added at the preliminary hearing, and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, $20,000 was also added at the preliminary hearing. Probable cause hearing was held back in July 11th, 2022, and the case still remains unindicted. I think partially, I can't speak for the defense or for the state, but Ms. McWhite is on the call. She wanted to address the court. Don't know if Your Honor would rather hear from her now and then have me finish up my bond argument, or however the court would like to proceed.
That's fine. Ms. McWhite, can you turn your camera on, please? Ooh, I don't, she must have dropped off. I don't see her anymore.
I saw she was there.
She was there earlier. I did see her there earlier.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have a way you can get in touch with her if you want. Ms. Fiacco, after you finish, we can give you a second to get in touch with her, and then we can hear from the state if you'd like.
Yes, it might be Nicole Donaldson, might be her daughter joining on.
Okay.
Help. Your Honor, Ms. McWhite, she doesn't want to press charges. She's saying that this didn't happen, that her son is guilty of nothing, that he didn't have a gun that night, that he doesn't own a gun. And so she's been really wanting to address the court. So after the bond argument, if I can try to get in contact with her, she really does want to speak to the court.
Okay. So the warrant says she told him that he brandished a gun threatening and saying we can all die. So now she's saying none of that happened, I guess, right?
She's saying that it didn't happen and that she was angry.
Okay. All right.
I can go on additional ILO, Your Honor.
Okay, go ahead. She's still connecting to audio. So the Donaldson phone, it still says connecting to audio. So
Mr. McWhite, he's 31 years old. He's lived in the Metro Atlanta area since he was 13 years old. He does have other relatives that he can stay with that's not staying with his mother. She wants to have contact with him. She loves him. But if the court ordered to stay away or no further violent contact, she understands that he would need to follow the court order. I'm asking for a significant reduction, $10,000 good bond on behalf of Mr. McWhite.
What says the state?
I guess, Judge, Shama Iqbal for the state. Currently, he does have a $46,000 bond, and we do believe that is appropriate. Given that, Your Honor, that was issued right the same day as the prelim was heard, and that's where there's the difference between your bond that you wrote up on April 19th, which was a $25,000 straight bond. And then after the prelim, 2 charges were added on. Your Honor, our office has spoken with the victim. She is the defendant's mother, and she has not said that. In fact, she has said that she just wants her son to get out of jail and to a mental health facility. We do believe that there's mental health issues. I even found, Your Honor, an incident in the jail where he had created a weapon, a shank, and used it. We do believe due to the fact that this victim is his mother and his mental health issues and the fact that he has a hard time not listening to the courts about not having a weapon. And in fact, Your Honor, he has a current active probation warrant from Douglasville because he was on probation for that aggravated battery and aggravated assault, and he committed a new offense. So, Your Honor, looking at the totality of the circumstances and his given history and the intimate relationship between the parties, our biggest concern is, yes, his mother's going to say, because she loves him, which mother doesn't? But then we're worried that there's going to be another incident similar to the one that just occurred, which is the in this case. So, Your Honor, we just ask that bond remain the same.
And 88 Iqbal, if I may, when did you speak with Ms. McWhite?
I personally have not. My office did, and then we have notes. The last time was April of this year, and that's where she did not mention any of that. She said she wanted to get her son out of jail into a mental health facility, which, absolutely, but she did not mention any of those other items at all. There's nothing about not happening or him not being there or any of that sort.
Oh, well, I would just respectfully ask that your office reach out to her again. I spoke to her this afternoon. I've been texting her all afternoon. And
in domestic violence cases, how that is quite common where the victim may come back, especially after some certain time due to the intimate relationship between the parties, that it's very common in DV that victims come back and say, oh, it didn't happen. And from other cases, past experience and knowledge of it, we know that is not always necessarily the case.
Well, I mean, 88 Iqbal, if you are going to pursue the case, fish or cut bait, he's been in for almost a year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will talk to Mr. Royals about getting this case indicted. Yes.
Hold on. 6 South, stay in your seat, reach back there, shut the door and stay in your seat. 6 South, close the door and stay in your seat. Ms. Fialco, it looks like Nicole Donaldson has connected. Is that a name that sounds familiar?
Well,
hold on, Ms. Donaldson. Don't talk unless you have your camera on. I don't talk to the black squares with just a name and no picture. Got to see your face.
Ms. McDonaldson, are you with Ms. McWhite? Are you her daughter? I don't want to hold.
You're on mute. Stand by. Take yourself off mute.
Okay.
Are you with Miss McWhite?
No, ma'am. I'm my brother's, I'm the sister.
Okay. Well, all right. So, Miss.
Judge, I would object to that as the victim in our cases. That's not who the victim is. So unless she has something relevant to offer for Ayala, then, Your Honor, I would object to that.
I completely understand. Miss McWhite is elderly and has been having trouble with Zoom, and so I didn't know if maybe her.
And that's what it was. Yes, ma'am.
I'm not trying to call a sister as a witness.
Okay. You know where he's going to live?
Well, he can live with relatives. I don't know which specific address he would be at.
Yes, sorry.
That's okay. Raise your right hand for me.
Okay.
You swear or affirm testimony you're about to give is truthful, truth, nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do.
All right. I guess Ms. Fialco wants to know, do you know the address where he will live if he gets out of jail?
I don't know for certain. He is allowed to stay with me, but I'm actually out of state. I'm not in the state of Georgia. So.
Okay. He does have family members here, or he could stay with his sister. What state do you live in, ma'am?
I'm in the state of Texas.
Texas. Okay.
Judge, I would just really object to having him stay with outside of the state, as it is outside of our jurisdiction at that point. So we wouldn't be able to, it would be a lengthier process to get him to come to court if he failed to come. So we would just ask that he remain within Georgia if the court wants to grant a bond or a lower bond.
Ms. Donaldson, are the relatives that are here in Georgia, are they in the metro area?
They are. My mom, she's actually in Fulton, and then we also have a sister who's in Cobb County.
Okay. All right. Anything else from the state?
No, Judge, we just want you to know that, yes, even though his mom's in Fulton, she's the victim in this case. So,
right.
Yeah.
All right. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. There'll be an ankle monitor with a 24-hour curfew. He can leave for court, lawyer, medical, employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of that employment, a schedule, and the exact location you'll be working. You have to do that all the time. You have to supply it to the ankle monitoring company and to Ms. Fialco so it can be supplied to the state. Stay away from 765 McDaniel Street. You can go live with your sister that lives in Cobb, I guess. So you'll have to provide that address where your sister lives in Cobb upon being released, sir. So you're going to have to let the jail know and Ms. Fialco so she can file the address in Cobb County. Right now, no further contact with Shirley McWhite. The state can get in touch with her, Ms. Fialco, if it wants to be amended to no further violent contact, that's fine. But right now, it'll have to be no contact. Stay out of Fulton County. You only come to Fulton County for court or to see your lawyer. Don't stop and get gas in Fulton County. Don't ride any public transportation that goes through Fulton County. Court and lawyer only. So it's Cobb County, come straight down 75, go to court, get straight on 75, and go back to Cobb County. 7,000 on count one, 7,000 on count two, 1,000 and 10,000. 7, 7, 1, and 10. Best of luck to you, sir. You can leave the booth. I know it's your mother, but you can't call your mother. Can't get in contact with your mother. Don't pass messages through your sister to your mother. And Ms. Donaldson, if you'd have your mother contact the DA's office directly, I think Ms. Fialco wants her to have contact with them, that will be fine, okay? Thank you, Ms. Donaldson. Sir, you can leave the booth. Right, let's see. Do we have Mr. Gooden? Mr. Coffer, Mr. Little, Mr. Reynolds, all right, and Mr. Reese. Okay, so we just got to wait on those other two. All right, we'll take Mr. Reynolds. Mr. Bassett, 21 CP 198903, Lando Reynolds, 608 days without indictment. Excuse me, there's this $175,000 good bond as of December of 21. Aggravated assault, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, criminal damage to property, second degree, unlawful for a person employed by, associated with, street gang and to conduct or participate in criminal street gang activity, purchase, possession, manufacture, distribution, or sale of marijuana, and criminal attempt to commit robbery. Sorry, guys, a little tongue-tied here. I've been working all day. Pre-trial.
Only prior arrest.
That was easy. Go ahead, Ms. Bassett.
Thank you, Your Honor. As you stated, 608 days without an indictment. Mr. Reynolds had his preliminary hearing on December 28th of 2021. So we're at a year since his preliminary hearing. This case has been accusable for a year, and yet here we are, unindicted, still in custody with a bond he clearly cannot make. He has no history. He, in fact, turned himself in, so he's not a flight risk. He denies these allegations adamantly. I think the only argument that the state can really make at this point is that the bond amount is based on the nature of the charges, but the court has already determined that he qualifies for a bond. We now have to decide whether the bond is reasonable, and clearly it is not, because he has not been able to make it. He would not, I'm sure, sit for 608 days voluntarily. He does not have the resources to make a $175,000 bond. He was 17 years old when he was arrested. He's about to turn 19. He's a child. We've let a child sit in custody, in jail for 608 days without even an indictment. It's insulting. It's unconscionable. It's horrifying to me, honestly. Mr. Reynolds is originally from North Carolina. He moved to Atlanta with his family a few years ago. He was in the 11th grade at Langston Hughes High School. He reports that he was on the honor roll. That has been interrupted because at 17 years old, he was plucked out of society and just dropped in the Fulton County Jail. He was working at KFC. He has 4 younger siblings and an older brother. The address on file is a good address. He's been in custody this long. That address is still a good address. That's his mom's house. I have been in contact with her the entire time that he's been in custody. She has vouched for him. She will supervise him. She has a plan to get him back in school, to get him on the right track. I have every confidence that she will do that. It's also my understanding that Mr. Reynolds has been doing a program at the jail. I didn't know anything about it. I had to ask him. The reason that he's wearing orange is because he's participating in a program. I think the sheriff is running this. It's supposed to be, I think, a team building or a morale building sort of organizational thing at the jail for some of the young men who have qualified based on good behavior and all of that. So they're allowed to be out all of the time. It's my understanding they're the only floor with access to tablets right now. He's also been receiving counseling. They have motivational speakers come. They also work to make improvements around the jail, painting the jail cells and just trying to do what they can. I know that the building does not give a lot, but they're doing what they can with it. And I think that speaks to Mr. Reynolds' commitment to himself and to doing the right thing and to staying on track. I think that the testimony that came out of the prelim has created some major questions about whether or not the state can successfully prosecute this case. It's my understanding that the occupants of the vehicle in question were armed. We don't have ballistics reports that have come back yet. I also noted that the officer's testimony regarding the gang allegations it leaves me quite skeptical, Your Honor. I'm looking forward to really getting into that going forward. And I know Mr. Reynolds is as well. For today, what I would be asking for would be to cut that bond in half. That's it. I think that's more than reasonable. I would ask for the bond to be cut in half. We'll go from there. I would also ask the state to give some sort of information about the status of an indictment. 608 days is inexcusable. I would also like to know if the state has had any contact with the complaining witness. And I think Mr. Reynolds would like to know that too. I think at this point he is owed an explanation. And that's all I have, Your Honor.
All right, what says the state?
Good evening, Your Honor. Mrs. Bassett's facts are certainly different from what I have. Not only was he picked out of a 6-pack, but in addition, there's actually video of him actually shooting the individual outside of the car. So there's no question of we have the right person. As far as we're in the process of trying to get all these cases from the backlog indicted. We have quite a few of them, Your Honor, sitting on our desk just from the COVID incidents. So we just have to get them all indicted, and we are working on it. And I will put his on that stack that we're trying to get done. Your Honor, as you know, this is a gang charge, and I don't know if she read the actual report, but he's actually at 17 and documented Goodfellas. So, as you know, with gang charges, the bond is set higher. That's statutorily. So we'd ask that the bond remain the same, Your Honor. And he did have a hearing in March of this year asking for the same thing for a bond reduction, Your Honor. And so initially finding him a danger to community, that continues to be the case, Your Honor. And we ask that the bond remain the same.
Right. Anything else, Ms. Bassett?
Yeah, just with all due respect to ADA Bridges, I know he didn't have the opportunity to be present at the preliminary hearing, but I was there. The gang testimony was, again, tenuous at best. It sounds like Mr. Reynolds has been lumped in with an acquaintance of his, Mr. Ross. There was no testimony about gang signs, social media presence, any kind of statements from Mr. Reynolds, or that he was representing any colors or anything of that nature. It's just wrong place, wrong time, wrong acquaintance. I would also note that bond is not intended to be punitive. It's simply meant to secure a person's return to court. I don't think we have any reason to be concerned about Mr. Reynolds coming back to court. And again, he has no criminal history.
Mr. Bridges, has anyone spoke to the victim? Looks like, according to the warrant, the victim was shot in the chest.
Yes, Your Honor. I think that was one of the problems. I reached out to the victim advocate today, and she didn't get back with me. But as I read the notes, they were concerned whether he was going to live or not at the time. That's one of the reasons they had a delay to see if there's going to be upgraded to a murder. So that's one of the delays they had. But like I said, Your Honor, we're on the backlog. We're trying to get them all indicted as fast as we can.
And Your Honor, the state cannot have it both ways. They can't sit here and say that this case is so important, we got to keep him in jail, but then it's not important enough to actually get it together and present it to grand jury. They cannot have it both ways.
Right. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. You got to have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew. You can leave for court, lawyer, or medical. Stay away from 2614 Summit Parkway. No social media, sir. No replicas of weapons. No further contact with a member of any member or associate or affiliate of Goodfellas or PFK, Play for Keeps. No further contact with Sterling Williams, Angela Knighton, Knighton, or your co-defendant, Jared Johnson. Sure, got everything here. And no further contact with any other gang affiliates or any other sects or of any gangs. $75 on count 1, 10 on count 2. Criminal damage to property. I'll make that 2. And that was I didn't set this bond on unlawful for gang activity. That was a different judge, because we know what happens when I do it, don't we, Ms. Bassett?
I believe so, Your Honor.
Yeah. So I'm going to leave that at $25,000. $2,000 on possession of marijuana, and I'll leave criminal attempt to commit armed robbery at $25,000. 75, 10, 2, 25, 2, and 2. If there's any kind of hold or anything like that, he'll just need to get the ankle monitor put off 48 hours after getting released. And he's going to live in Fulton County?
Yes, Your Honor. The address on file should be a good address, and that, I believe, is in Fulton County. And I wouldn't expect there to be any holds, as he doesn't have any arrests.
All right. Thank you, sir. Best of luck to you. You can leave the booth.
Your Honor, have a good night.
You too.
And Your Honor, that would conclude my business with the court this evening. May I please be excused?
Yes, ma'am. Have a good weekend.
You too.
All right. Anthony Reese. 21 CP 200-590. 539 days without indictment, $70,000 good bond as of March the 8th on armed robbery. Pre-trial.
In regards to Mr. Reese, extensive arrest history, 45 prior arrests, currently under suspended sentence for robbery, sentenced in 2020 for 3 years. Numerous other felonies, theft by receiving stolen property, cocaine with the intent, cocaine, and another robbery in 2010. 2 FTAs, 07 and 09, nothing further.
All right, Ms. Fiacco.
Thank you, Your Honor. Natalie Fiacco on behalf of Mr. Reese. Mr. Reese has been in the Fulton County Jail now for 539 days without indictment. It's a very long time. And as we exit the pandemic, I hope that we stop seeing people sit in jail for so long without indictment. It is a tragedy. Mr. Reese has a $70,000 good bond that he cannot afford. We're asking for a significant reduction. A probable cause hearing was held back in March, 9 months ago, and the case still hasn't been indicted. I have tried reaching out to the complaining witness in this case. The number on the arrest citation doesn't appear to be correct. The person I spoke with didn't seem to know the name I was seeking to speak with. Mr. Reese, he's 34 years old, lifelong resident, high school grad, skilled as a mover, and while in jail has lost his baby sister. So he has been coping with that loss from, unfortunately, the Fulton County Jail. I'm asking for a $15,000 good bond. That's high, and I don't think Mr. Reese could post that, but it needs to come down significantly from $70,000. There's no movement on this case.
All right. Sir, I'm sorry for the loss of your sister. Go ahead, Ms. Amjadi.
Your Honor, unfortunately, Odyssey is freezing on me again. However, given the nature of the charge, it's not very typical for our office to consent to a reduction. But I would ask if the court is inclined to reduce the bond on this offense, that it reduce it no lower than $50,000. 50.
Okay. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. You're going to have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew. You could leave for court, lawyer, medical, or employment. Sir, if you get a job, you'll have to report the name of your employer, proof that you got employed by that employer, a schedule, and the exact location you'll be working. You'll have to do that to the ankle monitoring company and to your attorney so that she can get it to the state. No further contact with Lavon, Lavon Jones. No further contact with Sincere, Sincere Jackson. Stay away from 855 Peachtree Street in Atlanta, Georgia. $50,000 good bond. Best of luck to you, sir. You can leave the booth.
Your Honor, that concludes my business. May I be excused?
Yes, ma'am. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, you too.
So I've got Mr. Gooden. Nope, not yet. Mr. Kofer. Right. 22 CP 210375. Tasia Kofer. Let's see. 541 days, no indictment, aggravated battery, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon as of July the 4th, no bond. Wow.
Ofer, 33 prior arrests, open case, 21 CP 200-602, theft by taking, criminal trespass damage, 21 SC 178918, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, aggravated assault, firearm during fire, assigned to Judge Cox. Nothing further.
Who's handling this one? Anyone?
What's the case?
Mr. Kofer, position 21.
I think the calendar says Mr. Morrell, but.
I think Ms. Mark was getting other people to fill in to Mr. Morrell because, well, We all know why.
I may be able to handle this one. I
I'm
would
going to
just,
give you, we'll give you a second, Ms. Collins, and let's see if, well, I don't know. The other ones, are you handling Gooden?
what position is good in?
Well,
Position 12.
It's 21. Wait, are we still talking about Kofor?
no, hold on a second. I'm talking about is she still handling all these? I got Gooden and Little left.
Well, I'm going to be handling Little. I can handle the other ones. I would just need a breakout session.
You need a breakout section for position 21?
21 and also Gooden.
All right, hold on. Let me make a couple of breakout rooms. We'll give you a second. So, Ms. Robinson, I just made some breakout rooms. Do you want me? I know we're gonna have to unmute them. Do you want me to try to pull that up and do it?
It's up to you, however you want me to handle it.
Let's see.
I already have it up, Judge, if you want me
Oh,
to.
do you? Okay, so let's see who we got here. Mr. Kofor, wave your hand, raise your hand again for me, please. So fourth, you could put that in one, and then just take him off mute when you get him in there, and Miss Collins. And we'll just stand down until for you, Miss Collins. Whenever. Sorry, go ahead.
If there's a second person that needs to be interviewed, I can handle it.
Let's see, Mr. Gooden isn't in there yet, though.
Okay.
Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Is that Mr. Little is in Flat 5 North? Mr.
Mr.
Little,
Little?
raise your hand.
Yes,
Thank
Mr.
you,
Little.
sir. Yeah, Little is in there. Thank you.
So we just have Mr. Gooden would need to be. Mr. Gooden's in 5 South. LT,
They're getting them, Your Honor.
okay, thank you. So when we get there, Ms. Fiacco, if you want, they can put you in a breakout room with Mr. Gooden. He'll be in the 5 South booth.
Okay.
Bob North, don't go anywhere. Sit down.
Your Honor, I think Gooden is a co-defendant of Mr. Kofor.
I think we'd have to get Mr. Lewis here, and I think he needs Mondays instead of the other days.
Your Honor, it's a different person with the exact same last name.
Oh, okay. All right.
That works out.
Okay.
Your Honor, may I please be excused for a moment?
Absolutely. We'll stand down for a few minutes.
Thank you.
As soon as I get him there, Miss Fiacco, Miss Francis or one of us will put you in the breakout room with it.
Judge, I noticed that you were skipping over position number 10, and I looked in the case. It looks like there was a bond on 1129. Is that why, McLeod?
Right. Did you not hear the people that were did you not get the email of the ones that were removed? So McLeod?
I got all the other ones.
Oh, okay. Yeah. McLeod got a bond on 1129.
Okay. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Mr. Gooden is position 12. Ms. Fiacco.
Perfect. Thank
And Judge, I noticed there was another order in the queue that I didn't put in there. And I know you're doing prelim. I didn't know if you had prelim today, but it was for Rashard Dixon.
Yeah,
that was sound familiar.
Yes.
Okay, I'll process it if it gets done. I'll process it.
Okay, I guess I missed that one today. Sorry about that.
I'll go check and see if I don't know, they might have sent it to the wrong queue by accident, but I'll check if it's not processed, if it's signed or not processed.
Okay, looks like he joined the booth, Judge.
Okay, we'll put Ms. Fiacco in a breakout room with Mr. Gooden.
Okay.
Wave your hand. There goes my bailiff. Sorry about that. Bailiffs are rowdy. Yeah, put Mr. Gooden and Ms. Fiacco in a breakout room. Thank you. And I'm gonna pull up my prelim calendar and check it again.
Mr. Gooden, can you perhaps move to booth 3? We don't have a breakouts for booth 4. 5 South booth 3.
So you gotta invite that one back.
Yeah.
Okay. Ms. Pearl, that order for Mr. Dixon was in front of me. I must have missed it after the prelim. Sorry about that.
No, Judge, that's okay. She probably sent it to the wrong queue. She sent it to the night court queue and didn't realize it. So that's probably why you missed it.
I think that's what the ones they did send it to. So I guess you submitted it after I thought I'd signed them all. I'll sign it really quickly.
Okay, I'll process it, no problem.
Ms. Collins, is your guy back?
Yeah, I'm ready. I can do Kofor and Little, if any of them are ready.
All right. All right, Mr. Kofor, wave your hand again. Let's make sure you're back. All right, that's 21. 2 CP 210375. 541 days without indictment, no bond as of July the 4th, aggravated battery, and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. And Ms. Collins, looks like there is a probation warrant on Odyssey. I don't know if you were able to see it. Pre-trial.
Yes, I do. I see it.
Okay. Pre-trial.
The 33 and 2 open cases.
All right, Ms. Collins.
Your Honor, Mr. Kofor, he is 46 years old. He turned 46 while incarcerated. He's had 2 birthdays since being in the Fulton County Jail. As of today, I believe he's been incarcerated for over 500 days. This case came in July of this year, however. He has his GED, Your Honor. He has 2 adult children. He has 2 grandkids. He did miss the birth of his 2nd grandkid while he was incarcerated. Before getting arrested, he was working. He was self-employed. He owns his own pressure washing company called GC Pressure. He's lived in Georgia his entire life. He resides at 6266 Hickory Lane Circle in Union City, Georgia, 302. 691. He lives there with his wife. They've lived at that address for 8 years. He does have ties to the community, Your Honor. So I would say that he's not a flight risk. It has been over 90 days since he's been incarcerated on this case. And so he is entitled to a bond, Your Honor. We are asking if you would consider a reasonable bond. Looking at these warrants, they are very thin. It's just one sentence. It looks to me like both warrants are alleging just an aggravated assault from the one sentence that's in them. But we understand that that's an argument for a preliminary hearing. In the meantime, Your Honor, we'd ask if you would consider setting a reasonable bond. We'd ask if you'd consider 10,000 on each count.
All right, what's Ms. Amjadi?
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, Mr. Kofor also has, as pretrial has mentioned, he has 2 pending cases in Fulton County with the DA's office. The other one is in Judge Cox's courtroom, where he was charged with 1 count of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, 1 count of aggravated assault strangulation, 1 count of possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, and then last but not least, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. The other one is with the non-complex unit. Those are property-related crimes. But I think given the fact that he has 2 serious violent felony cases pending at the same time, Mr. Kofor has used his chances and should not at this time be entitled to a reduction in bond.
There's no bond, Ms. Amjadi.
I apologize.
I think you were looking at the other ones. That's okay.
And this is his first bond hearing. I would ask respectfully that if the court is inclined to grant a bond, that it be no lower than $40,000 for each of the charges.
All right. No drugs, no alcohol, no weapons. This happened at Rice Street, Ms. Collins, but I'm not going to tell him to stay away from Rice Street. I know you wish I'd do that. All right. No further contact with Vernon Young. You have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew for court, lawyer, medical, and employment, Ms. Collins?
He's self-employed, Your Honor. So yeah, he would be working if released.
Okay, employment, sir, but you have to turn over your schedule and the location that you're working. You'll have to turn that over to the ankle monitoring company and to your attorney, Mr. Morrell, so that they could turn it over to the state so that you won't get violated for breaking some sort of conditions with the ankle monitor. $15 on each, $30,000 good bond. Best of luck to you, sir. You leave the booth. And that probation hold, I'll put he has to get 48 hours to get the ankle monitor placed on him once he gets released from his probation.
Your Honor?
Yes, ma'am.
You broke up on my end when you gave out the numbers.
Oh, give him 48 hours to have the ankle monitor placed on his ankle once he gets released from his probation hold.
And what was the amounts of the charges?
15 and 15. Mr. Coffey, you can leave the booth. And Mr. Little? All right, we got Mr. Little. This is 2 cases, Ms. Collins, because the other one was indicted. 23 is 22 CP 213132. 94 days without indictment, no bond as of October the 12th. Aggravated assault and possession of dangerous weapon or drugs by an inmate. And then we've got, I think this was 1 on the add-on calendar, 22 CP 211924. 94 days, you got aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, armed robbery, and possession of a knife or a firearm during the commission of certain felonies. No bond as of August the 31st. Wow.
Judge, in regards to Little, 14 prior arrests, open case 22 SC 185201, aggravated assault, 2 counts, aggravated assault with a deadly weapons, 3 counts, firearm doing, firearm by, theft by taking felony, assigned to Judge Schwall. Currently on probation from 2013 street gang, 5 counts. Criminal attempt at a felony, sentence in 2013, 10 years confinement, 10 years probation. Nothing further.
Go ahead, Ms. Collins.
Your Honor, Mr. Little is 32 years old. He's married. He's lived in Georgia his entire life. He resides at the address on file. His entire family lives here in Georgia. He has 3 stepchildren whom he cares for. He has his GED, and has a license. He has a CDL license. He's been incarcerated now for over 94 days, so I believe that he is entitled to a bond on both his cases. Starting with position number 23, Your Honor, we'd ask for a reasonable bond. It looks like this is a jail incident. He does maintain that this was an act of mutual combat. The case is still unindicted, so he is entitled to a bond. Your Honor, we're asking if you would consider a bond of $10,000 on count 1 and $5,000 on count 2, given the amount of time he has been incarcerated. It looks like other cases have been indicted. However, this one hasn't been. I'm not sure why warrants say that there is video footage of the incident, so I believe it shouldn't be any issue locating the witness or getting the video footage for this case, Your Honor. So I would ask if you would consider a total bond of $15,000 on that case. On the add-on case, Your Honor, for bond recommendations, I'd ask if you consider 10 on count 1, 20 on count 2, and 5 on count 3 for a total bond of $35,000, Your Honor.
Ms. Anjati.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, if I may ask Ms. Collins if she could repeat the number on the second case?
Yes, my recommendation was $10,000 on the aggravated assault, $20,000 on the armed robbery, and $5,000 on the possession of a firearm for a total bond of $35,000. The one that it's the third. There's a third add-on calendar.
Oh,
yeah, okay. There was. Sorry.
Yeah, the other one on this calendar was indicted, so we're not going to be able to hear it.
I apologize.
No, it was confusing for me prepping it too.
With respect to 22 CP 213132, position 23, Your Honor, the state would respectfully request, given the seriousness of violence that keeps occurring within the jails, I would ask for a bond that is commensurate with the seriousness of that offense, and that the court issue a bond no lower than $40,000 for each of those offenses. And with respect to the other case on the other add-on calendar, if the court will permit me,
I don't know if the victim advocate or he showed up. It says that the victim was stabbed. It says multiple times.
Your Honor, given that fact, I would say that the state would not consent to a bond, but I suspect that he is legally entitled to one at this time.
Yes, ma'am. It says multiple times in the back with a shank.
Your Honor, in that case, the state's request is that the court not grant a bond lower than $100,000 for each of the charges.
Right. Position 23, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no further contact with Ricky Crittenden, Crittenden, have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew. You can leave for court, lawyer, or medical. Is he going to live at over near Centennial Olympic Park still? Is that going to be the address? Centennial Olympic, sir? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Thumbs up. All right. Court, lawyer, medical, and you say employment?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Okay. Employment. However, sir, you have to provide proof of your employment, schedule, location you'll be working. You have to do that weekly. You have to supply that to the ankle monitoring company and to your lawyer so that she can provide it to the state. $40,000 on count 1, $20,000 on count 2. On the additional add-on calendar, 22 CP 211924. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no further contact with Tavion, Tavion Bridges. Stay away from 230 Reading Place. That ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew. Court, lawyer, medical, and employment. Like I said, you have to provide the name of your employer, proof of employment, exactly where the exact physical location you'll be working, and a schedule. You have to supply that to the ankle monitoring company and to your lawyer so it can be supplied to the state.
Your Honor, may I please request precision location monitoring?
Okay.
Is one of the questions.
Ms. Parham, can you put electronic monitoring or ankle monitoring and put precision location monitoring?
Judge, I got it.
Thank you, Ms. Parham. Okay, on this one, let's see. Yeah, ankle monitor. So you have to supply all that information to your lawyer and to the ankle monitoring company, sir. If we had contact with this victim, oh, no, I'm sorry, Ms. Amjadi.
No, it's okay, Your Honor. They are legally required. I know our office makes an attempt to call everybody beforehand, but as I'm sure the court is aware, sometimes we don't have the most updated contact information when we do this. So if the court will permit me to look. Apparently, the victim's number is no longer in service, Your Honor.
Right, looks like he was shot in the buttocks, the alleged victim, Travion Bridges. Okay, we'll make 25,000 on count 1, 25,000 on count 2, 10,000 on count 3. Best of luck to you, sir. You can leave the booth. And we're just waiting on.
That concludes my business. May I be excused?
Yes, ma'am. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, you too.
All right, we're just waiting.
I'm sorry, Judge. Did you say 45 for count 1 or 25?
On the second one, 25, 25, and 10. 25, 25, and then 10.
Thank you.
And Judge, are we waiting on position 12? Is that the case?
We are. It's the last one. Mr. Gooden, Ms. Fiaco's in there speaking with him since. Got Jamila Lee was the lawyer.
Yes. Okay.
I think she left the office.
Like for good or left for the day?
I think she left for good like a few months ago.
Ms. Fiaco's Jamila Lee, did she leave the PD's office?
Oh, yes.
Oh, that's who it's assigned. That's who it was assigned to. So I don't know who took her cases.
I will follow up on the entry of appearance.
Okay. We'll get him back in here just a second to. Thank you for handling this, Ms. Fialco. I appreciate it.
Of course.
It's been a long day.
It has.
On an extra case.
All right.
Everyone is represented.
Yeah. All right. We got number 12, 20 CP 195521. Looks like 109 days with no indictment. Aggravated assault, family violence, possession of firearm by a convicted felon as of August the 16th. There is a $15,000 good bond. Wow.
Judge, Mr. Gooden, 4 in New Jersey, 2 in Georgia. Open case 20 CP 195522, theft by receiving stolen property, firearm by, and New Jersey prior conviction for violation of a domestic order. Nothing further.
Ms. Fialco.
Thank you, Your Honor. Natalie Fialco on behalf of Mr. Gooden. Mr. Gooden is here. He was arrested on a pretrial bench warrant and was actually out on a $15,000 SOB through pretrial on these charges, which was a consent bond from the state and an extremely low bond. And so I think it's indicative of the strength of the case. I am jumping in here and I am looking at the Marcy's Law disclosure, and Ms. Jackson was okay with that bond. The bench warrant isn't because of any violation of this bond. It was he was arrested in Clayton County for a different case and therefore couldn't report to pretrial. It wasn't that he was harassing Miss Jackson or something like that. Mr. Gooden, he's 38 years old. He has been in jail now for over 100 days. He's lived in Georgia now for the past 2 years. He's earned his GED, and prior to his arrest, he was working in a warehouse. If he were to bond out, he would need to work to get back on his feet. He's lost his job. He's lost his housing. We've kind of talked through that plan. He has plans on how to file taxes, get his tax returns, stay in a motel for a month or so until he can get that money, put first month's rent down, and get back his job through the temp agency at the warehouse. So there's a plan in place. Unfortunately, I can't offer a stable address at the moment, but Mr. Gooden, from my brief conversation with him, is goal-oriented and doing what he can to get back on his feet. I'm asking the court to consider a $5,000 good bond in this case. Mr. Gooden would like for me to ask that you reinstate the previous bond. If the court is not inclined, I would ask still for a low bond of $5,000.
All right. What says the state? I'm not sure how they did a consent bond through pretrial because ag assault can't go through pretrial. But what says the state?
Judge, I apologize. I cannot speak about the previous consent bond, but I can speak about the fact that since he was on bond, he's caught another case in Clayton County. And as you know, that's one of the factors of not committing another offense. Well, clearly we have evidence that he will and he has. Your Honor, also, I do see a felony convictions from New York, Suffolk County. And I believe it was for drugs. And the handgun that was used in this case, Your Honor, was reported stolen from Columbus. And that's where the theft by receiving stolen and possession of a firearm is coming from. Your Honor, we think that a $15,000 straight bond is very reasonable in this case. And we just ask that you keep it the same.
I'm so sorry. Just because I want to make sure that I touch all the points that I wanted to. As far as the new case, it was a misdemeanor. I understand, don't pick up new charges, but it was a misdemeanor. And Mr. Gooden hasn't had a violent charge or a felony conviction in over 10 years. The last case was in 2009, and it was a drug charge. Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
I have the drug charge from 2011. That's when he pled.
Okay. All right. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no further contact with Sherita, Sherita Jackson. Stay away from 5474 Oakley Industrial Boulevard. Sir, you'll need to provide an address where you'll be living. You need to provide it to the jail upon bonding out. Once you change and you get another place to live, you also need to supply it to your attorney so it can be filed with the clerk's office. The hotel or the motel where you're going to stay, and or once you change residences, you need to supply that there too. You can have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, and employment. You have to supply the name of your employer, proof of that employment, a schedule, and the exact location you will be working. You'll have to give that to the ankle monitoring company and to your new lawyer. I don't think it'll be Miss Fialco. I'm not sure, but whoever your new lawyer is at the public defender's office, you'll have to supply it there. Make sure, once again, so that you do supply your address. If not, that is a violation. This has been a while, but I don't know. Was there any contact with the alleged victim?
Judge, you mean from the states?
From the state.
Yes, Judge, we have had contact with her. Let me pull it up one moment. Let's see. Oh, okay. So, Your Honor, she is currently living in New York. So she's not in the state. And she's not afraid of him because she's staying out of state and is in favor of bond, as that's the notes that I have.
Okay. So it looks like, according to this, slammed her on the ground twice, slammed her on the ground, allegedly, took her out, pointed at his gun. Let's see. So $10,000 on aggravated assault and $2,000 on count 2. So $12,000 good bond. Best of luck to you, sir. You can leave the booth. Thank you, Ms. Fialco. Thank you to everybody that was here. And Ms. Gowdy, you weren't here today, but you wanted to show up in time.
Oh, I'm just here because just in case Amy has a case on the calendar, I told Ms. Francis earlier.
Oh, She
Yeah.
did have cases, I think.
I know you did, but in the future, just so that we don't forget, that's all.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Miss Collins handled all those.
All right, Your Honor, you need anything else from me?
No, sir, Lieutenant. Thank you so much. And sorry you guys are struggling there with having people at the jail, but you guys are holding it down.
All right, thank you so much, Judge. Y'all have a good afternoon.
If you can check out there, I guess at the South Annex, they said that the lady that's pregnant, I guess she's not getting enough food. Could you just check, make sure they consider that she's eating for two, I guess, when they give her food?
Who is that, John?
That is
Parks.
what's her name again? Let's see.
It's Katina Parks.
Katina, thank you. Katina
Parks?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll make contact with her.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else need anything?
No.
All right, you can all be excused. Thank you so much. I'll go ahead. Y'all have a good weekend. I'll go ahead and stop the stream. Finally ending my day.
Thank you, Judge.
Just a
Thank you.
minute.